April 8, 1943. 27,000 feet above occupied France. The sky burns orange as tracers whip past the bomber formation of the 8th Air Force. Inside one of the B's call sign Memphis Belle, the air trembles with the roar of 4 Wright Cyclone engines. Frost creeps along the glass canopy, and the tail gunner, Sergeant John Quinlan, grips the twin handles of his Browning M250 caliber machine gun. Eyes narrowed, then it appears, a black speck slicing through the clouds. A Messerschmitt Bf-109 dives in, cannons blazing. Quinlan squeezes the trigger. The Browning thunders, spewing fire and steel at 800 rounds a minute. The recoil rattles the whole turret, smoke stinging his eyes. But the German fighter disintegrates under the torrent. A wing shears away, spinning into the abyss. Silence, then cheers erupt through the intercom. The 50 caliber just saved the crew's lives again. The Germans called it the meat chopper. The Japanese dreaded it even more. Heavy, simple, and merciless, the Browning M2 was more than just a machine gun. It was the voice of American firepower, mounted on everything from bombers to jeeps, landing craft to tanks. It turned the battlefield into a storm of lead. Every German soldier who faced it remembered its distinct sound, a relentless hammer that seemed to echo for miles. Yet behind the weapon's cold efficiency lay one man's obsession. John Moses Browning had perfected the design decades earlier. In the 1910s, by WWII, his invention had evolved into the most feared heavy machine gun of the war. It cut through armor plates, shredded aircraft, and even tore into enemy positions hiding behind concrete bunkers. To the Allies, it was a guardian angel. To the Axis, it was judgment. But this was only the beginning. The M2 was just one chapter in America's arsenal of psychological devastation. The next weapon didn't just dominate battlefields. It changed how wars were fought forever. Because for infantry, one rifle redefined power, giving every soldier the hands of a marksman. The second scene drops you into the factory floor of an American munitions plant, where the pulse of rivets and smokestacks replaces enemy gunfire. The date is late 1942, the place Detroit, Michigan, and the air tastes of hot metal and inevitability. A line of M4 Sherman tanks waits under pale fluorescence, their hulls gleaming like armor tempered by necessity. A foreman with grease-streaked hands taps a wrench against the scorched steel, signaling a go for a test drive that could decide a campaign. You can feel the vibration in the concrete as the first cannon shakes the air, an earthbound thunder that makes the floor tremble beneath your boots. The engine roars to life, a basso profundo that drowns out the chatter of supervisors and the occasional curse from a spark-wielding welder, steam sighs from radiator grills, and a lookout helmet tilts as if listening for the distant whisper of a frontline rumor. In the cab, a tank commander peers through cracked glass, his eyes narrowing, not with bravado but with a quiet arithmetic, the weight of armor versus the speed of the German panzers, the line of supply against the line of fire. The camera lingers on the moment when the transmission shifts from idle to confident, and the tank lurches forward on its tracks, a living instrument forged from steel and the stubborn will of a nation that refused to break. Outside, a gust of wind stirs a field of hay bales, and a worker's picture of a son at war rolls from a keepsake wallet, a small beacon of humanity in a world of gears and gunpowder. The scene closes not with triumph, but with a measured breath, the sense that every bolt turned and every rivet set is a step toward turning the tide. What weight do these machines carry when they stride onto a dust-choked road toward sacrifice? The answer lingers in the air like exhaust, waiting for the next contact with the enemy. June 14th, 1944, the wind off the channel is sharp, with smoke and salt, cutting straight through to the bones of every man in the landing craft as they push toward the battered sand of Saipan. The engines stutter, the hull slaps each passing wave, and the world is a cacophony of shouted orders and the groan of armored tracks churning through surf. On the ramp, 2 Marines lock eyes, each clutching an M1 Garand, 8 pounds of American walnut and steel, a weapon that's earned a reputation from the deserts of North Africa to the hedgerows of France. When the ramp drops, the silence shatters. A wall of machine gun fire snaps overhead. Sand spouts and geysers, bullets whip through the air like angry insects. One Marine stumbles and falls, the other lifts his Garand, sights in and fires. The semi-automatic bolt slams back with a mechanical symphony. In the chaos, the flow of fire is relentless. One squeeze after another. No pause to reload after every shot like the old bolt actions. In moments, the M1 carves a path through the chaos, pushing back the defenders, giving American soldiers the rhythm and speed that the enemy fears. Most into the Japanese, it was a demon in the hands of 100,000. To German infantry on the Western Front, it was unsettling. A rifleman returning fire as fast as a machine gun, advancing with uncanny speed and precision. The M1 Garand is not just a symbol. It is a lifeline, a tool that turns frightened young men into something more than survivors. Somewhere further down the beach, a sergeant shouts for covering fire as his platoon pushes forward. The Garand's distinct metallic ping echoing every time a clip empties and another miracle of mass production snaps into place. The momentum won't last forever. Up ahead, a tank bogs down, its hatch open, smoke billowing as the behemoth becomes a target. Riflemen drop low, the sand sticky with sweat and blood. As the battle teeters, the enemy calls forward a weapon designed to erase hope, a flamethrower, belching a river of fire that threatens to change the very air into an enemy who will stand their ground when the world itself seems to burn. August 7, 1944, the dense jungles near the Philippine island of Leyte are alive with the distant thunder of artillery and the sharp crack of rifles. A small patrol moves cautiously down a muddy trail through thick undergrowth, the air heavy with humidity and the scent of earth. At the front, a flamethrower operator operating a M22 flamethrower, 2 tanks of pressurized fuel strapped to his back, pauses to assess the next patch of the enemy's bamboo fortifications. The flame jet bursts out, a roaring river of fire that consumes everything in its path, sending screams into the humid air. Behind him, riflemen with M1 Garands crouch low, ready to exploit every gap the flames create. The flamethrower is a weapon feared not just for its firepower but for its psychological impact, turning fortifications into hell and men into shadows fleeing the blaze. Yet the operator moves with studied care. One wrong move and the flame could consume his own squad. Nearby, a Sherman tank rumbles forward, its 75mm gun-firing rounds that thud into enemy bunkers, while machine guns chatter in a deadly rhythm. The landscape is a mosaic of mangled palm trees, scorched earth, and the shattered hopes of defenders who face a relentless American advance marked by innovation and brutal efficiency. But this is no mere struggle of metal and fire. It is a battle of nerves, courage, and survival. What happens when the fury of human ingenuity meets the raw desperation of defense? Who will hold their ground as the hellfire rolls through the jungle? Shadows in the Jungle, October 20th, 1944. Deep in the tangled jungles of the Philippines, the American and Filipino guerrilla fighters move like ghosts beneath a suffocating canopy of leaves and branches. The humid air is thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. The sound of distant artillery, replaced by the crackle of walkie-talkies and measured whispers. A small squad led by a battle-worn lieutenant slips silently past booby traps and camouflaged Japanese foxholes, each step calculated, each breath held. Their weapons are lighter here, silenced pistols, compact M1 carbines, and hand grenades, tools for close quarter combat where the enemy looms in the shadows. Around a bend, they burst into a firefight with sharpshooters hiding in thick bamboo. The firefight is fierce but brief. Quick bursts of fire, frantic bayonet charges, and the jungle floor, churned with disrupted foliage and fallen bodies. The psychological toll of this hidden war weighs heavily, day after day of stealth, sudden death, and the ever-present fear of betrayal. Yet these fighters know the land better than anyone. Filipino guerrillas teach their American comrades how to navigate the dense labyrinth, identify enemy signs, and even harness the jungle itself as a weapon. This new kind of warfare is dirty, brutal, and exhausting, but it slowly turns the tide as every foot gained in this hostile green ocean pushes back the Japanese grip toward eventual liberation. And as night falls, the jungle whispers of something more, a reckoning close at hand, where only those who adapt will survive.